He's equipped with Adler Pro Logic. The sound of reason. This is the boss of talk, Charles Adler.
I've never felt this good. Without a doubt, confidence grows with age. But after 60, no matter what, your skin can let you down. It becomes more fragile. I found Age Reperfect Pro Calcium from L'Oreal. My skin feels toned, more resilient. I'm 69, and Age Reperfect Pro Calcium is the future of my skin and yours.
The pressure to look young. Look, I don't expect you to sit in front of your TV and count the amount of ads out there to try to make us feel better about ourselves by giving us all sorts of potions and lotions to make us look younger. Mostly it's female, but you've got a lot for males now as well. Judith Timpson wrote recently in the Globe, on a spring night, I dropped by my mother-in-law from Montreal and staying with us at a downtown hotel for a black tie wedding. And she's wearing a silk beaded jacket, and she looks fantastic. And she's 84. What time do you think you'll be home, I say? I'll try to wait up for you. I go on to dinner with a close friend who's in her 50s. Right away, we start talking about aging, and it's not pretty. You feel great, and then you catch a reflection of yourself in a store window, and it's, who brought my mother? And my feet hurt. And I tell her about a friend who runs a business with younger employees, and every morning she gets up and consults a magnifying mirror, tweezers in hand, just to make sure there are no stray hairs on the chin. The indignities of age. And when we're sick of our own complaints, our conversation takes a turn for the better, focusing on women we admire in their 80s, many of them still raring to go despite the infirmities of age, living lives replete with community work, cultural outings, and family. But I don't have to go on much longer to tell you that the conversation after all of that ends up turning to what kind of chemicals can we take, and whether we're talking about Botox or we're talking about some of the other stuff that you just heard. The question becomes, what can we do to make ourselves look younger? It's not just a female thing anymore. And Cary knows that. He's Sun Media's weekly Keeping Fit columnist who recently talked about his own personal issues with weight on this program. We've also got Donna Skelly, regular contributor at CH, also happens to be a professional Paul now, or I guess about to be a professional Paul, running in the upcoming Ontario election as a PC. Cary and Donna, thank you so much for joining us.
Quite welcome.
All right, Donna, let me begin with you on this. At what time did you notice, and you've been working in media, in TV for a long time, but at what point did you notice that guys were staring at themselves in the mirror and thinking about and fretting about getting older just as much as females?
It's funny you should bring that up because I remember being in the makeup room at one point, and one of the male anchors was going to be leaving the newsroom to go out to a news conference, and he had makeup on because he had been on the air earlier, and he didn't want to take it off because he looked better with it on. And I think he became as concerned and as worried about aging as a lot of the women. And it really was, I'd say, within the last 10 years that I noticed that men were becoming just as concerned about the younger people in the business as the women were.
All right, so here's the question. Is there just as much pressure, Donna Skelly, on a female in media as there would have been 10 or 15 or 20? I'm going to broaden it out, go beyond media, of course, but I just want to focus right now on, on the personal. Is there just as much pressure today on a media female to look as young as there would have been when you first got into the business a couple of decades ago?
Oh, yes. But there is, I wouldn't say, I don't think we need as many. I still don't think that there's as much pressure on men. I think that there is pressure. Perhaps it might be more internal than external. But I do believe that there is more pressure on women. And part of the problem is there are so many young people that we're seeing on the air today that they're just as talented. They're getting experience much earlier at going live. They're developing their skills. They're good and they're smart. And I think society, because of the shows that we see, we're bombarded with news magazines and images of women who have had Botox and who have had all these injectable fillers, that there is a lot of pressure on an aging, perhaps a primary anchor to retain her youth. But it just can't happen. I mean, you got to get old, right?
Someone sent me a picture.
Not the best thing.
Yeah, someone sent me a picture of Barry Manilow. Okay,
Oh, God.
Barry Manilow's in his upper 60s, and I couldn't believe what I saw. You know, I looked at
recognize him.
I looked at this, and you know, all I could think of, you know, he looks like, you know, the Phantom. He looks like the Phantom of I guess the Schlockerer. I mean, here's a guy who's very, very talented, and he wants, I guess, to look the way he did in his 20s, and I guess his doctor has told him, or he's told himself, that he can do that. Lord knows, you know, how much Botox and whatever else he's had. But I just want to ask you this, Donna Skelly, as someone who's talked to a number of people who've gotten into this, who've gone down that path, is there something that gets disabled inside the brain? Do people who go for this over and over and over again convince themselves that this is actually working when it clearly isn't?
Absolutely. And one of my guilty pleasures is a series called The Real Housewives, and I'll admit to it. And the women, these are Real Housewives of Miami and Beverly Hills and Atlanta. And they openly discuss how much Botox and filler and the boob jobs and the hair extensions, and they really don't look normal anymore. It's such a distorted image that I think that, and they're all doing it. I think that they don't know what a natural aging person looks like.
Cary Castagna, I want you to come into this conversation. You don't have to do it from a male perspective, female perspective. That doesn't matter to me. I just want to ask you a general question about this. Do you think there's more pressure for people to look young now than when you first got into the fitness business?
I guess I would have to say yes, and I'm not going to sit here and say that there's more pressure than on men. I mean, I think, you know, I still think there's more pressure on women for sure, but you know, men do feel it. You know, like Donna was saying, I mean, you know, I found my first gray hair, like, you know, 10 years ago, and I'm in my late 30s now, and it's, you know, it still bothers me every time I see a new gray hair, and you know, as you said at the beginning, I'm trying to lose 100 pounds this year, and I think it's just all about feeling confident and just feeling capable and have that internal strength, you know, as you get older, and so that you know, you can continue to work and thrive in life, you know, because people are living a lot longer these days, and you know, I just don't want to be cooped up, you know, at 65 or whatever, and you know, be sitting on the couch watching TV. I mean, I want to be out there and be a vibrant member of society, and you know, so I think that's maybe where the pressure comes. I mean, maybe men are more shallow than women, you know, but I think men still want to have, you know, want to get rid of that beer belly, and you know, thanks to guys like, I guess, Anderson Cooper and George Clooney, I mean, we can see that, you know, maybe it's all right that we can get gray as we get older, but yeah, I guess there is a little bit of pressure on men, but not nearly as much as women, for sure.
So you're thinking that while it may shake a guy's confidence to look older, to start noticing that he's looking older, you think that it doesn't shake him up nearly as much as it shakes up women?
No, not at all. I mean, it's still there, though. I mean, for me personally, yeah. I mean, I'd like to, you know, get rid of the beer belly, and you know, I did buy some hair dye about 4 or 5 years ago, and I haven't opened the package yet. So, I mean, my wife says she likes that I go gray. You know, she likes my gray hair, so I haven't quite felt the need to just open the package just yet.
Donna, isn't it amazing when it comes to something like the hair dye that guys generally wait until they're in their 40s before they start doing that? How long
anymore, Charles? Not anymore.
Not anymore?
When they're teens. Oh my gosh, no.
All right. Well, I'm generalizing here. That's clearly changing. Everything's getting ratcheted down. But I want to ask you this: do you recall how old you were when you first went for the dye?
Probably 40. I think things changed for me at 40 as well, and I think that there's a point that with women that aren't afraid of getting older, a lot of that comes with confidence, and you mentioned confidence. Once you recognize that there's so much more you can do, getting fit to me is, I think there's more pressure to look, to drop weight than there is to look youthful. I think there's so much pressure today to get out, get active, and shed those extra pounds, even more so than shedding those years. But I think if you can stay healthy, if you can stay fit, and if you're comfortable in your own skin, if you've got a good relationship and that type of thing. I think women or people in general tend to be a little bit more accepting of getting older.
You know, when a guy thinks about movie stars, generally, I mean, this is another generality here, but generalization. But generally, it's who was hot when you were a teenager. And
right.
So when I was a teenager, the Diane Keatons and the Lauren Huttons were hot. And if you take a look at how the Diane Keatons and the Lauren Huttons have evolved, I mean, it's just scary. Lauren Hutton's gone down that kind of Barry Manilow route, if you will, and Diane Keaton is still gorgeous without all of that.
True.
So you get the impression that one probably has much more self-confidence than the other, or would that be the wrong conclusion, Donna?
No, I think that has a great deal to do with it. I also think, though, that when women become very concerned and more or less obsessed with getting older, a big part of that is if they're single and they're worried that they're not going to find a mate, because as we get older, our choice of man diminishes, because men seem to still want to be dating the 20 and 30 and maybe 40-year-olds. So there are fewer and fewer people that they can find as a partner, so then they become more concerned about looking older and wanting to turn the clock back.
Cary, let me ask you this, based on what Donna Skelly is saying. Do you feel that a guy is simply not judged as harshly by women? Let's just talk about the women, because women, everyone knows that women judge women harshly. That's just too drop dead easy. But Cary, would you say that women judge a guy much less harshly than they judge women, or just somewhat less?
Yeah, I think probably men do get a little bit of I wouldn't say like a free ride, but we do probably get the benefit of the doubt, because a sense of humor and wit and that sort of thing will go a long way, and it's not always just based on looks. And I was going to say too that Donna brought up a good point about how things have changed, because as far as the fitness industry, it was always 20 years ago it was a lot about looks, and now if you see the the whole fitness message out there is more about being functional and being healthy, and being able to do things with your grandkids. And so I think that's I guess probably where the shift has occurred in the last few years, and I think mainstream the mainstream population is definitely realizing that.
Cary Castagna, I want to wish you good luck with your column and your life. Thank you so much for this. Appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.
Cary Castagna is Sun Media's Keeping Fit columnist. And Donna Skelly, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Donna Skelly, regular contributor to CH, and now running for office in the Ontario provincial election. Email to charles@charlesadler.com.
This radio station is equipped with Adler Pro Logic, the sound of reason. This is the Boss of Talk.